Welcome, everybody, to tonight's broadcast. My name's Lou Jensen, and this is the weekly gathering of the I&E Network. We're inspiration and encouragement network of wannabe artists and people who have started a really great hobby and tried to move it over into the business world. This is our 9th year. We've been doing our shows, webinars, some portion for a long time. And it's so great to be able to sit down with all of you and visit about here, mostly business, hobby business aspects, things that are generally a little more tricky and difficult for people to figure out. If you're over on Google Plus or over on YouTube and you're watching from anywhere in the world, you're sure welcome. We appreciate you dropping in and taking time and spending time with us. Jason's here. First time, I think, Jason. Maybe you came earlier. I can't quite remember. Good to have you here. Jay's here. Ed's here. Mel's in now. Nick's in. So if Mel's here, we can start. Okay, that's kind of the rule. And we can't get started unless Mel's here. And Tam's here. So we're going to roll tonight in a segment and a side that I call studio food. And I kind of have to give credit where it's due here because this is a concept that Craig Hone came up with. It was a matter of controlling the circumstances in your life where you're creative and productive, and controlling at the point that everything around you is supportive and encouraging of who you are, and more particularly who you're trying to become. And so music was really something we talked about carefully, because the kind of music that you like is what you prefer. But sometimes people don't realize they're listening to music that's not, it's kind of disconcerting and distracting. And when you're trying to come up with new creative ideas, you just can't have that around. But it's the same thing association with, particularly with friends and family. A lot of us who are artist types struggle immensely that our family is not very supportive of who we are, much less who we're trying to become. And that's hard because you can't really run them off well, and yet that impact is always there that's kind of negative. And you just have to continually build the concept underneath your life and your studio production that is supportive of what you're really trying to accomplish. Then there comes the concept of supporting inside of you. I believe strongly that we all have a physical personality and we all have a spiritual personality, and sometimes we don't have any problem feeding the physical side of ourselves. Most of us are quite accomplished at that. But the side of feeding and encouraging and supporting your inspiration and your spirit really does need to be addressed. So that's the show tonight. We'll launch things here. Let me fire up my PowerPoint and we will get started. Okay. I want to start with this slide tonight because it's screaming at me. Just remembering and seeing your blessings and talking about them more is a matter of your problems and potential rather than the curse that's screwing up your life. And it is a matter of self-talk. It is a matter of understanding what you're facing and what you need to do to kind of improve those individual circumstances. I think it's just huge concept to grow and cultivate the best world around you that you can. And if it's an uplifting people and ideas kind of environment and circumstance, then you got it made. You can get through anything. If it's the other way around, then you really need to raise heaven and hell till you get that kind of fixed. Yeah, everything in your life you've ever wanted is on the other side of fear. Even when we're not overly familiar with it and seeing how anxious we are, fear is really what blocks most progress. And it's such a difficult human characteristic to manage and deal with. And depending on how deep those fears are and those anxiousness are, we all struggle with something here. I've played with this for years in this what you ought to do category of trying to help people understand what are the things we must give ourselves. What kind of concepts could we really develop skills with? Because we all love handmade things. I don't have to ask me twice to sit down and carve and engrave something, except this other side of life and living is what we really have to pay more attention to. It is an uphill climb. No matter what anybody says to you, turning a business into an idea into a business is not an easy thing. It's just worth everything it takes for you to accomplish that. I always talk about my story. I mix it in because it moved to our story very quickly. And then all we need now is your story to mix with ours to make it a perfect combination. And we've been an artistic cooperative now since 1983. The purposes of our I&E network is to discover that we've got some ability, to develop that ability, then to master something, get extremely good at something, and then learn to share that with the world. It really is a 4-point process that takes you from an amateur to the master of something, and then do well in the economy. I try and get every one of you to build or name your studio. Give it a very, very good, solid name. And treat it with reverence. This kind of becomes your religion. It's your creative space. It's what you should really revere, and everything inside of it is aimed at that support of that kind of idea. Spent this last year digging into my ancestors pretty aggressively, and it has been quite a thing. When I see what their struggles were clear back here and realize what it took for them to settle clear out west here, come across the oceans from Europe and clear across the United States to Utah to settle. And I was even reading this afternoon some of the stories where I just go, oh my gosh, we owe all of them so much for what they stood on and lifted and tried to accomplish. So the food for the soul is in every way as supportive of the kind of things you like to eat physically, should be the consumption that you concentrate on with your thinking. And it's just a similar kind of a concept completely, because if you're paying attention to it, then it will probably be done and done well. If you're ignoring the concept, then you're really gonna struggle. I want you to think differently tonight. I want you to put on a different hat, come at this subject with not saying, yeah, I understand all about soul food, and try and tell yourself that maybe there's a lot more here I could dig up, a lot more that could be of benefit to me. Those who are free of resentful thoughts surely find peace. When someone can just tell themselves that this idea of no resentment and no resent or revenge, you really do find a level of peace that's rather extraordinary. I've looked at this for several years, and most of the popular movies are revenge movies. They're living their life, something happens bad, and then they take off from there, and it's all revenge. And I sit and think, oh, if you're feeding on revenge or resentment, you're really putting a chains on yourself in your overall productivity. I also preach and talk often about the idea that what we chew on is what we swallow, and what you mostly swallow is who you become. And so if we are constantly chewing on poor social climate around us, then we're in trouble. You must control your own individual circumstances, and when it concerns your studio and your creative space, I've never seen it yet where it was easy to do it unless your own attitude is the kind of attitude that is lifting your spirit along the way. Now, it can only be pulled it backwards, so when life is dragging you back in difficulties, it means that it's going to launch you into something great. Is that not a change of attitude? An expectation of how good things are coming rather than how bad things really are at the moment. Mel, I chose to stick you in here again tonight because I remember when you first posted this and you're producing these kinds of pieces because I think they're rather extraordinary. Mel has the ability to shift his thinking gears and move his life in directions that are uplifting and challenging. And the thing that I see in most of our masters who have succeeded and done well, they have this kind of ability that there isn't anything they can't learn. There isn't anything they can't do and accomplish once they set their mind to it. And that kind of attitude, and all of you who've been around me much know I bring this up often. I'm just so astounded with people who talk themselves into this I can't do it, compared to all of those people who, oh yeah, I want you, because it's the kind of thing that there's just nothing here that you can't do. I'm trying to help one of our newest members, just got sandblasting system, and I hope she's listening in tonight, but we're going to talk and show a whole little thing on bubble letters and how we can overlap lettering in a custom kind of produced category that with the engraver is just a slam dunk when you can be able to do this. And yet everyone who's not done it before would really struggle. They just don't quite understand what to do or how to do it. And so yesterday she asked me in a phone call if I would send her my favorite fonts. And I thought, you know, I've done 9 or 10 years of shows, and I don't think I've ever done this before. So if you've got screen capture, you can grab this really quickly. But I went through all my fonts, and then I just marked the ones that I most often use and sent it out to her today. And I thought, well, that's quite a bit of help rather than having to go through all of these fonts. Some of the, I've got them all, but I just don't use them. The ones I need are usually with a little more bulk to them so that the lettering and style will show up more. Nothing in the whole M category. Isn't that interesting? And there's some in Old English every now and again, and the Parade and Papyrus, I like those scripts. Those fonts are great. Rockwell's good. Rockwell Extra Bold, Show Card. And then Stencil I use quite often. Tahoma I use a lot, and Wide Latin. Now, when the computer drops this font into your life and you begin to learn to engrave any one of these fonts, each one has some tricky elements to it, things that make it a little harder to engrave than other fonts. And in given a period of time, you're going to begin to figure out that for this job, I probably ought to stick to something like the stencil font. And I don't know how you learn that series of fonts without doing more of it, using things more often and giving it more try. This is the practice stage, okay? I've used this font style twice this week because it's really freehand easy to do. It's all over the place and it's loose. So something like this is just a really, really, really fun and easy font to kind of learn to use. But I grew up with Dennis Whaley, and so his concepts and his quotes are just so motivating, so encouraging. And the idea of being able to extend your individual reach and be able to do things that right now you cannot do, but by next year this time you will be competent at doing. How do you do that? How do you fix the circumstances in your life and continue to grow and to continue to progress? Because some people have that inclination. It's just part of their growing up nature. But a lot of people do not. And right now, tonight, you got to kind of figure out where you stand in this equation. Can you adjust your thinking and move on to bigger issues and bigger decisions? Or do you really, really struggle with it? And please don't let yourself get caught in this category. The maybe side of life is just paralyzing most people's living. Want to be able to move it into a yes or no kind of category. Keep calm for freaking sakes and make a decision. I present often Noah, my oldest son's boy, and Noah is such a fun kid at this age. He's just 8 years old now, and he has got the most probing mind. And so when Grandpa and Noah get together, we're talking about some very interesting subjects already. And when I sit and think what it was for me at 8, didn't most of us at 8, we kind of 8 years of age is such a crazy age. And between Noah and Rhett and me now is this 3-generation kind of spread that is just fairly revealing. Because right here is where you start making the decisions. And you get along in life, you better well have things pretty much figured out, because that's not easy to change things when you're Rhett's age. And every time we play together is when I have such an incredibly good time to teach with him and share with him. I'm trying to help Noah understand what happened with me when I was 7, and I came up with the Imagination Committee, and now as he begins to formulate his plans with that, I think I've stumbled onto a really good way to have alternative thinking, not be so locked in to one thing to the point you can't see any other kind of opportunities. When the boys had this new sign cut and put up on the building, God, it was a fun moment to watch my kids out there putting this up into place and have it become what it really is becoming for them. We closed today on a new $1.5 million building. And we're going to get the building built this next spring and move Frontier Swiss into a whole new facility. And we're going to move Soulworthy, my studio, onto that same lot. So I've watched this progress happen this has been in the mail for 1.5 years. And it's not the kind of thing that you can do easily. You really do have to have what I think is a mental vision of where you're going. This picture hangs in the wall of the business on the wall, and it's a dramatic painting. It really is unique and really beautiful. But I kind of envision me here, and maybe down here occasionally, but I climb up to a place to be away from the world and yet still enjoy the things that I really enjoy a lot. Most of you bumped into me for a few years know I've dreamed of Siratrova, which is the Italian words for search within. And I've named Siratrova after the concept, an Italian concept that allows me to have my studio here and a museum for the company here, and then training for people that come and kind of sit in and spend some time with me as I'm finishing this up. This idea was launched years ago, long before there's internet. And now with these webinars and my connecting ability with the internet is reaching out all over the world, and I'm going to change the use of that when I get to that point. When you've got passionate dreams and concepts, I don't share them a whole lot. Too many people hold your feet to the fire when it's just a dream. And yet, how do you get from your as-is world to something better without it? You have to listen to your heart. You have to go with the things that are meaningful and have impact to you, and then figure out how to make them work better in the marketplace. once you've let your heart give you the direction, then run. Run in that direction. I'm having so much fun with Google Crazy. Google plus Crazy is going to be something I'm going to play with the rest of my life. And it's interesting, the people that don't dare tell themselves that they're slightly crazy, and yet, boy, it sure helps. It makes it a lot easier for you to impact and might play in the marketplace. My dad used to use this, and I've started writing a little book about the impact my father had on me. Because Dad would say, okay, son, we're ready for bear. And I lived half my life not knowing what ready for bear was. But it's interesting how you pass it on, because what was passed on to me is now what I've shared with Rhett, and is now what he is sharing, and he and I are sharing with Noah. What a great way to make that work, okay? Don't let what you can't do stop you from doing what you can. It is so profound as a concept to understand that you've got to feed this spirit, this supportive spirit in your heart and your soul that says, I'm doing something really good, something really valuable, something really important. And in this 40-year adventure now, I kind of look at it and think I'm probably going to be around for 50 years of it. And this next 10 years of whatever, there seems to be so important. Just the icing on the damn cake now. And when I see the kind of things that have evolved out of what we've been playing with and doing, when Tam and I first walked over to the studio, or the Key studio, and saw this leaf carving, I thought I was going to, we both did, came unhinged. It was such a new thing, so different. Carved from the front side and then the back side out of an inch piece of alder. And it just is so breathtaking. It just ends up being an absolutely incredible piece. And then the people that have crossed our paths, crossed our lives over the years, when the Moors came, and Doris is at Keith's learning how to carve and learning how to do her things. These people are all brand new, but boy, have they picked it up, and have they just done such amazing stuff. And we start them out on the most basic side of two-dimensional carving, and learning to take something that's maybe a quarter of an inch or a little more thick, and then shaping it and layering it to where it looks really good. This is such an exciting thing. This is in my week-long class, and on Wednesday we start really pushing people, doing things they didn't think they could do before. And the second they start to realize that, okay, if I've got this pattern here and I've got a template on here, I probably can figure out how to sculpt this stuff and begin to pull it into my life. And it doesn't matter if it's a piece of wood, doesn't matter if it's a piece of eggshell. Once you begin to do two-dimensional layering, life for most of us technical artists with this power pen really changes in a hurry. Then you go on from there. And we sit down in Craig's, this is Craig's studio, that's the fireplace mantle he did that was $70,000 fireplace mantle, and this was the clay model of it. The whole studio is just filled with these beautiful things that Craig and Robin have produced. It is the place where passion and innovation come together. The energy's growing underneath Jack's collection. Just about every week now, we move it a little closer, a little further along. This is my #1 patron, and my best friend has $40 million worth of handmade, beautiful, beautiful graphic art, decorative art pieces in his home. At least $12 million worth of cut crystal. And it's moving in the direction now of the university, and will land here at some point, I'm hoping. I think we've just about found a home for it. But this is a dream of mine that's now over 30 years old. It's something that I've been working on and working with and nudging forward and lifting and sustaining the concept for a very, very long time. when those whispers come along to you, I think it's so important remember when he said, listen to your heart and run in that direction? This was the cover of Art magazine, and I don't know this guy, but when I could see how happy and content he is, flat out, he's invested his whole life in his talent development skills. This is in my journal. And I put stuff in my digital journal that I bump into that motivate me, that keep me going, that help me see better the path and the journey that I'm trying to take. And you just need to do those same kinds of things to keep it in your own life, take it as far as you possibly can. The mastery of something really unique is what I think everyone should be targeting. And your soul will lead you. You'll stumble onto it. You'll find something that you've started out and didn't think was there, and then all of a sudden, oh my gosh, this is the path. This is the way I want to take the rest of my life. I call it an ordinary miracle because it feels in every way really, really ordinary. People that are just as ordinary as you and I, that they stumble onto something that just lights them up immensely. And that's the direction they go from that point forward. When you see a quote like this should then make more and more and more sense to you. Stay close to anything that makes you glad you're alive. And I honestly wonder, out of the billions of people that are out there tonight, I wonder how many of them have this in their life. Our masters do. Those that are succeeding with what they targeted and what they went after have moved from what started with their own story, what your influence with other people, and then their story combines with that of your own. Talked to Gary Price today, guy that did the sculpting piece for the icon for our logo, and he's now working on the great dream of his life. There are 7 mountains to climb in this whole process, and without a degree of aiming your life and understanding what you're really taking on, then everything else seems to be kind of confusing and gets in the way. And if all of it was just me or just Tim or someone else, that would be one thing. But when you look at the cross-section of Keith and Greg and Darwin, you look at the people, Marilyn and Jose, how can you not? These lives have really, really climbed some serious mountains. And they've lifted out of themselves talent and ability that they had no idea they even had. And they're all very aggressive now at sharing it in the marketplace. The only quote I've got so far in my life is, a miracle will be found in your doing. And so considering the spiritual impact of your space, your creative space, it's a really good time to do that and to measure what you've done last year and begin to project what you hope to do this next year between now and January 1st. It's quite an interesting time, usually kind of pensive. It's usually a reflective period of time. It's a good time to kind of consider whether you're stuck or whether you've got opportunity abounding, and see what we can't do to take advantage of that as we move into the first of the year. My shows start with the Artistic Business Academy in January. We've got 5 shows on upscale marketing that I encourage you not to miss. Personal branding is a 3-week show. Pricing, upscale pricing, marketing efforts. I've got a whole marketing master's marketing course that I present, and these are all free, an opportunity for each of you to kind of sit in and sharpen the saw beginning in January. And the first shows in January are One Tough Test and how to kind of decide if you're getting anywhere, and then aiming your life. And I sure do welcome you to prepare a little bit now, and we'll take you through that. We're not going to do too much now between the holidays and the first of the year. Maybe after Christmas we'll fire up another show and see if we can't kind of preempt things a little bit as we get heading into this next season. It's so interesting to hobnob and hang out with all of you guys. I know most of you quite well, and to have the kind of interaction and basis with each of you where sometimes somebody will say something in a call or a phone call or an email just lights me up like no tomorrow. And that mixture of us is still what I think is the best thing going on. Ron and I probably visit as much as anybody in the network, and it's been so fun to kind of grow old together. Ron and I did a lot of woodworking shows, and hey, I can see you laughing, Ronnie. Don't you got old, but I didn't. I don't know what the hell happened. But Ron and I used to do woodworking shows together, and to have those occasions where Ron's the kind of person that is just about 99% upbeat. It's just how he thinks now. And he was that way before, and he's that way now. He was staff writer for American Woodworking Magazine. Ron has just taken on just about anything that he needed next now to do and can pull it off. But his attitude is always positive. I doubt any one of you have ever crossed paths with Ron Schneeberger. You haven't felt a sense of this uplifting kind of attitude. And I can promise you, not everyone has that gift. Not everyone has that capacity. Ron's molding and shaping now that I think the first book that will kind of define the rest of his days. And it's a terrible task. It's extremely difficult to fashion out of what you've now learned to do and put it in a package in the format that then begins to influence other people's lives. But that's my constant encouragement for every master. If you've not mastered something, then we need to zero in on that and get that part finished. Amateur to master is a 6-7 step process. But from that point of mastery, then there really ought to be something that you're concentrating on that you can compose and package and pass on. Hand on. You never know who's going to be inspired by what you're doing. You have no idea the lives that you can touch and interact with, especially now on these new social media platforms. And I think, well, start now. When you got a really fun story, something that's happened to you at a show or an event or a customer that says something to you, and you just go, oh, damn, I don't want to ever forget that. I got to hang on to that. I had a guy walk in one day to my dental office, and he had a chrome 357 Magnum pistol. And oh my God, it was gorgeous, and it had beautiful Wyoming jade stone cut grips for the gun. I have never seen a pistol that looked this. I mean, it was just stunning. And the gun's not cheap to begin with, and then he had these stone grips put on there, and I'm going, that cost him some serious money, and he just was so proud of his gun. He says, Doc, I've been everywhere. And everywhere I want my monogram, I want my initials in gold put in this stone. And every time I ask anybody, that's always go see Dr. Lou Jensen. This guy was clear across the country and had come all the way to meet me with his precious little treasure and wanted to know if I could do the gold inlay in there. Now, I just happened to have done gold inlay, a slightly different gold inlay for 15 years, so I didn't know what I was doing. But it was the joy. It was so fun to do, and it was just a slam dunk to do it. But that kid, I have never had anybody pay me that was more thrilled than he was when he came back in to see his precious little pistol that had now his initials done and go. For those, if you let that story get away from you, because you will forget it. From the time you are now to the time you be my age, memory is my big problem now. But I do have these written down. I do have these things captured, and now I'm capturing them on video, and I'm so determined to make those be a part of this story for the 40th anniversary, which is coming up here before long, to have something that just is so motivating. I had lunch with somebody that I've wanted to meet the other day for quite a long time, and as we were talking, it began to come out that we both knew Craig Hone really well. And he says, that kid is the most phenomenal artist. Oh my God, you wouldn't believe how good he is. And I didn't say what I've had impact and interacted with Craig for so many years. And he says, you know, I bought his 2 owls. He has these 2 owls. See that owl right there? There in bronze, he's got 2 of them, and he's got, I bought both his bronze owls. He says, oh, you would not believe how beautiful those things are. And it was so fun to cross paths with someone that was so unlikely to have that same kind of connection with this individual talent. And man, can I blow some wind under those wings when I'm in that position. Oh my Lord, that's fun to be in that position, to be able to help and lift Craig's career even more, because that kid's got a long way to go, and he's one of the best. There's just no question. But what a neat thing to move your life in that direction, to be able to say, okay, I'm going to do what I got to do and pay the bills, but what I'm really trying to grow is some strength here to be in a position in my life when I can really lift and really help and really encourage other people. It's a pretty good place to get yourself into. So I hope we've covered. Anybody got any comment? Yeah.
Hello?
Yeah, Tim.
Avenue. Okay, now my computer's unfrozen.
Okay.
We have a new member that is on tonight. His name is Jamie. And
I see you there, Jamie.
Just exactly what you're talking about tonight, I think will have a big impact on Jamie's future. He wants to get involved with the sandblasting and get his wife and his children involved and get away from his day job. And so I just wanted to say hello to Jamie. Yeah, I just wanted to say hi, Jamie. I'm glad you were able to get on tonight.
Good to have you. Jamie, I hope Tammy's told you the truth. You really shouldn't do sandblasting. It's terribly addicting. Extremely habit-forming, and I don't think she's warned you about that, has she?
Well, no, she hasn't. But I'm pretty obsessive with whatever I do. So.
You're obsessive. Hey, you fit right in here then. That crazy button thing that I was touching a little bit ago, we're all slightly crazy. So.
Yeah, I've been doing computer programming and web design for the last 10, 20 years, and it's fun, and there's work out there, but I find that I can never quit. And I mean, I work sometimes 15-hour days for an 8-hour paycheck just because I don't know when to stop, and if I'm going to do that, I want it to be fun.
Jose Valencia started with me a few years ago, and Jose worked for Honeywell and was trapped in the exact same circumstances. He was a test person for Honeywell, and he would go do shows with me and have so damn much fun, and he says, I can't believe you get paid to do this and play. And I said, well, there's a reason I left dentistry. I just was hell-bent on finding a way to get past being Dr. Lou. I just hated going to work every day. Made plenty of money, but what I wanted was a life.
Right, right. Same here, and that's pretty much where I'm at. I used to do some wood carving with the Dremel, and came up with some pretty nice pieces that people loved, and carved a eagle out of cedar, a half
Okay.
cedar log from my dad, and totally loved it. But the uh, the process is kind of tedious with the Dremel, and all the dust was killing me. So I figured sooner or later I've got to invest in a good dust collection system because it literally not put me in bed for 3 days. So I figured you guys have the right tools and the right know-how.
Yeah. Well, we have been playing in this world a long time, so we'll help you get started, and then we'll do our best to keep you in the saddle, and you can contribute with this really incredible gang of people that we have. We got a large circle of pretty talented people out there. So
Right.
the one you don't want to ask too many questions of, though, is Mel, because this guy right here, he will tell you exactly everything as it is. He doesn't pull the punches ever. Am I right, Mel Jones?
Yeah, I think so.
That's
You're right.
that's fine.
Yeah.
That's what I'm used to.
I think Mel's been with. How many years we've been playing together, Mel Jones?
24?
24,
Yeah.
something like that.
And he's never had his turban rebuilt. Can you believe that?
This guy knows how to take care of his tool.
Yes, he does. Yes, and I'm
Cool.
proud of
Right
him.
here.
Cool wizard right there.
Yeah.
That's cool. That's cool. Well, any other questions or comments? It's been a fun
Yeah,
night.
you
I gotta
know, my
What?
hair was black before I picked up the drill.
Yeah, that's the one
Great.
thing. We all lose the color in our hair as we age.
Yeah,
Some
I
are
had
little.
hair before I
Ron
started.
had hair. Look what happened to him. He thinks too much though. That's Ron's problem.
I pulled it out.
Yeah, I thought you were serious because I grabbed a Dremel the other day and etched glass for the first time, and
Yeah.
all the powder went everywhere, and it got in my hair. I went inside and I looked older. So I thought that's what you were talking about.
No,
No,
well,
no,
Find out what the solution was to that, but I thought I can't do this. How
my
could I-
hair is from my kids. My children started to drive cars, and that's when I got old in a hurry.
Yeah, teenagers do it to you.
Teenagers will do it to you.
On a serious
Jamie,
note,
Jamie, what's going to happen to you? You're gonna get going, and you're gonna start walking around with a smile on your face all the time, and people are gonna wonder what you're up to.
I've got a model that I'll share with you, Jamie. I was right between dentistry and this new adventure, and trying to decide which way to go. And I found a guy that had a T-shirt, and on the T-shirt he had embroidered, "Having a good time is my job." So I'll share it with you. Write it down on your bathroom mirror with a Sharpie tonight. Having a good time is my job from here on out. Everything else takes second base, second category. So great.
I'm glad to see Jason joined us tonight, Lou.
Yeah, Jason, good to have you here, bud.
Yeah, I enjoyed the tour through his house.
How's
That was
Maine?
slick.
Well, I love what you put up on Google Plus, Jason. You're doing a good job with your life and your work. So, how did the new studio? You worked on that. You got it all. Is this where you are right now? It's what you built this year. Undo your microphone. Your mic's locked up. Go on the very top bar. Go to the top of your screen with your cursor. There's a little toolbar across the top, and there's a microphone with a line through it. And just click that, and that will undo your microphone. Should. You find it?
There we go. Is that it?
Yeah, you got it. Yeah.
All right. Yeah. I'm on my phone, so it's a little different.
A little different. Yeah, a little different. Okay.
But yeah, no, I'm gonna be expanding my studio again. So yeah, so I'm gonna move a little bit more into my basement, and I've got a few more pieces of equipment that I need to get in here. So But that's January, February time frame. So
Yeah. Well, this is our creative productive period. Every one of us go into high gear through these winter months because it's just such a great time to sit down. And when I was built solar, they had a really beautiful wood fireplace in it that Keith Hone gave me, and I could go out and fire up my fireplace, and I could die there. I was so content. And I had every tool around me I needed, and I had everything arranged exactly the way I've always wanted it. And talk about a productive period in my life. It was just absolutely heaven. So keep wrestling with it as you can.
Oh, I will. It's it's a work in progress, really. Just getting it just right, and there's always.
Never have too much room. You're always expanding.
I know that's my problem right now. When I thought I had enough room, I don't. So.
No,
that's
never.
okay. That's oh well. What are you gonna do?
Yeah, I do know.
You never have enough room, isn't that right? Most of it. I made my studio with a porch. I had a 6-foot porch all the way around 1,000 square feet, and I thought, well, that porch, 6 foot out there, and I could lift the doors. I had 6 doors that would open up all the way around it, so I could go out on the porch and do large-scale cutting and sawing and sanding and whatever I needed to do. And I could make this one hell of a mess and take my air gun and clean it up in 10 minutes. It was just wonderful. But you just never
that inside too. He did that inside, and he was always blowing stuff around. It was one of the funnest places in the whole world.
Well, you got to think about keeping things clean, and
Dr. Jensen.
I just sort of
Dr. Jensen.
Don't say another word.
Here comes the truth. Look out now.
Here comes the truth. Right.
The hall monitor's cracking her whip.
Yeah. Don't any of it listen to her. She always prevaricates.
They know I speak the truth, my dear. They know I speak the truth.
All right. I got to run. Go get my brother-in-law from the wrestling match, so I apologize for having to drop and run a little bit early tonight. But I appreciate the chance to mix with you again. And what's the date next week? I'll see if I can put a show together for next week or not, but I kind of doubt it. I think
23rd.
23rd. That's too close to Christmas.
Lou?
Yeah.
Lou, look over Jay.
Look what?
Hang on, she'll come back.
Jason has a picture to probably what would be your left.
Who?
Can you see that, Lou?
No.
Up on the wall.
Right
over his
there,
shoulder.
Jason.
Let's see. Oops.
One of Dr. Lou's favorite subjects.
Showing it.
Let's see.
Yeah, little one up on the wall. Right there.
My hell, there it is right there.
There it is.
There it is right there. That's one I've not seen, Jace. We're going to come your way, dude.
That's the...
I've got to get up there to that. I've been to dang near all of them on the East Coast, but not that one. So.
Not that one. That is the most photographed lighthouse in the world, right there.
Right there.
That is the main.
It's a gorgeous thing.
Yes.
You see it on the web about every other day.
Yeah, I actually took that one.
Did you shoot
that picture? I shot that picture, yeah.
Okay, post that sucker up on Google Plus for me so I can snag it, okay?
I was just going to say, Jason, please send that to Lou. That's one of his favorites.
Post
You
that.
like
Charge
that one?
him.
Post that.
All right, I'll post
He's
that
got
right
lots
on there.
of money now. Charge him.
Yeah.
I'll trade with you, Jason. I'll figure out something you need, okay?
That sounds good.
Okay, gang. Thanks much for everything. Take care. Hang in there. And great to have you aboard tonight, Jamie. Stay in touch with Tam, and we'll help you all we can.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, Dr. Lou.
Good night, everybody.
Hey, Tammy, before you leave,
Yes, dear.
I think I got figured out what type these, what breed these puppies are.
Oh, really?
We're still
What?
alive, guys.
They're Mastiffs.
Mel, we're still live. He didn't shut the program down.
Oh well.
They're huge.
All
Yeah,
right, talk to you guys later.
they're about 14 weeks old, and they weigh over 20 pounds each, and they stand about 15 inches at the shoulder and about 24 inches long from their tip of their the base of their tail to the tip of their nose when they're stretched out, laying out. They are getting big.
Mel, my
Yeah.
computer is so bad. You keep breaking up. Will you call me tomorrow?
Yeah, I can give you that. I can give you a shot.
Okay. Nick,
Yep.
I need to talk to you too.
Okay.
So
Bye.
all right, you two, I've got to talk to tomorrow.
Okay.
Okay, talk to you later. Good night.
Well, Tammy?
Yes, ma'am. Or sir.
Yeah. Did you get an envelope yet?
Yes, I did, but
Good.
Lou hasn't seen it, so I didn't want to say anything. I wanted to surprise him.
Good.
Okay.
What I was gonna, I'll talk to you tomorrow, but what those connectors are about.
Okay. All right.
Okay.
That's
Good
one
night,
of the
guys.
reasons, but I want to talk to you about the sandblaster too.
Okay. Thanks. Good night.